with your new friend Ty.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast. It's a podcast where you find new friends and new music. This week, I am joined by an Inland Northwest native whose style may be hard to categorize, but his August 2022 release of his debut album solidified his spot in the area's music scene. Let's welcome to the show, Mr. Jake Rozier. Jake, how the heck are you, friend?
What's going on, man? I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. We were just talking about the weather a little bit, trying to last through this super long winter that we seem to have again.
I know. I mean, I'm used to it. I'm sure you are too. It just kind of comes with the territory of living here, you know?
That's very true. And so, I mean, sometimes it works out. Sometimes it's nice to walk around outside, but if they could just keep the snow off the roads, I'd be happy. Yeah.
Well, we haven't been hit too hard the past few years. Like you remember, I don't know when that was, but there was those 2 years, I think it was just 2 years where there was those really bad snowstorms where it was like 4 feet of snow and all the schools were closed and everything. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That was a long time ago.
The year that I graduated high school, which was a long time ago now, we had a bunch of snow that it was like 6 feet overnight. It was insane. But if we could stay away from that, I'm totally here.
Yeah.
A little bit of snow here or there.
Yeah, me too. I know I complain about the weather a lot, but you know, it's my decision to live here, so I can't.
Right.
It's on me. And I love it in the summer, just the winters, you know.
All right, we'll tee off with Jake next.
It's time to tee off with Ty. Here comes the first four.
Now that we got the weather out of the way, let's talk about Jake a little bit. Question number one of the first four. Would you rather be the funniest or the smartest person in the room, and why?
I don't know. That's a good question, man.
It's tough.
Honestly, I'm not a big fan of being the center of attention, which is kind of hypocritical for my position, but probably neither, just because then you know, everyone's looking at you. And
there's a lot of expectations.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that one. Okay, here's a very Spokane question. Are you a crinkle cut fry or a fresh cut fry kind of guy?
The crinkle cuts are the ones that have the ridges, right?
Yep. Yeah, like zips.
I like the ones, the waffle fries, but between those two, I'd say the crinkle cut ones are pretty good.
Waffle fries. That's number one all time, always. I'm here.
Or what are the other ones? I know Arby's has them, like the
curly fries. Okay. Yeah. I'm here for both of those. Okay. Question number 3. If you could bring to life a fictional character from TV, movies, a book, wherever, who would you bring to life and hang out with for a day?
Maybe Jesse Pinkman, or actually, you know what? I don't know if this counts because it's not really a fictional person, but they did a biopic movie on Hank Williams a while ago. It's called like I Saw the Light or something. But maybe that just because it'd be Hank Williams. But again, that's kind of cheating. So if not, I'd say maybe Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad. I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan.
I mean, both of those are good choices for very, very different reasons.
Yeah,
but I feel like just hanging out with the Breaking Bad guys for just a day, like either in character or just the actors themselves, I feel like would be a good time.
Yeah, well, in character or whatever. I mean, some of them I probably wouldn't want to hang out with.
That's probably true.
I get shot, you know.
Hang out with them on the off days. Okay, last question here of the first four, Jake. If you could have an unlimited supply of anything, whiskey, Pepsi, tacos, guitar strings, scotch tape, whatever, other than money, what would it be?
Could I say time? Does that work?
That's a good one. I like that. That's a good answer.
Cool. Well, then I'll lock that in.
There you go, man. Thank you so much for playing along with the first four, letting us get to know you a little bit. But now let's pull back the curtain and let you tell us kind of about how you've gotten to where you are. Give us a quick rundown of growing up and tell us how you first got into music.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've kind of always been into music. You know, I was always around. My dad played guitar, and you know, he used to, like, instead of like singing us or telling us bedtime stories or whatever, he'd come in and play songs or whatever to get me to go to bed.
That's really cool.
And so yeah, it was always around. I don't really remember learning to play guitar. You know, it was probably some like I learned before. I was probably really young. But yeah, and then my family's from Texas too, or my dad's from Missouri, but he grew up. I'm technically from Texas, but I grew up here. But he grew up in Texas, and they all listen to a lot of swing and like a lot of Bob Wills. That's a huge thing in my family. So I grew up around all that, and then I kind of started doing my own thing. And I was probably 3rd or 4th grade. I started a metal band with a buddy of mine, and we actually played around town quite a bit, which is kind of ridiculous looking back because we were like 9 years old and we were getting into these super crusty bars, but yeah, we did that, and then he ended up moving sometime in like middle school, maybe going into high school, and then I kind of stopped playing music for a while. The skate park opened up right by my house, and I got really into skating, and then did that for a long time, and ended up filming a skate video, which I worked on for like 7 years, and we premiered it at the Garland Theater in Spokane, if you know where that's at.
Oh yeah.
And then around that time, I was kind of getting into all the things that kind of comes with skateboarding, which I guess come with music too. But a lot of the drinking and drugging and stuff. And we put that video out, and I was just kind of lost after that. And all the addiction type stuff got a lot worse. And I was kind of just not doing anything for a few years. And then I met this girl who is my girlfriend now. And she kind of pushed me to, get my shit together and go to rehab. And I did that. And I brought my guitar with me, and I started writing songs again when I was in there for the first time since I was, 12 years old, maybe. And then it just kind of kept going. So that's where I'm at now. Just kind of keep going down that road, I guess.
Well, and your sobriety date's coming up on a year next year from alcohol, or next month from alcohol, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations on that, man. That's a big move.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's been a wild year, man. It's been cool. It's been really tough in a lot of ways, but really rewarding too. And I've gotten a lot of stuff done. I mean, made it through all the holidays, made it through a tour. Played,
those are the big things.
Yeah, played a ton of shows. I have no idea how many, and yeah, I got through all of that without drinking. So it's kind of like now that I'm coming up on a year, it's like now I just got to keep repeating that. So I know I can do all those things, so now it's just a matter of continuing to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of like it's a big accomplishment just in your own mind to be able to say, okay, I've done all of these normal yearly things without alcohol. Now I know that I don't have to. Good on you, man.
Because I mean, that was a big thing for a long time was, how am I going to get through my birthday? How am I going to get through the holidays? How am I going to get through, I went on tour in October. How am I going to get through that? Sleeping in the car and doing that whole thing and road dogging it. And yeah, I'm like, now it's just, I know I can. So it's just a matter of keeping that confidence in myself and not letting that slip, I guess, Oh,
for sure. And if there's somebody out there listening, that's kind of in that same boat, was there something for you that kind of spurred that change in April last year?
Yeah, I mean, it'd been coming for a long time. Like I said, I went to rehab in 2019, I believe. And that was for opiates and alcohol. And then I got out of there and started drinking again. And I pretty much drank straight up until last year when I quit. But I've been trying for a long time. So it was definitely a long time coming, but sometimes you just got to hit rock bottom, I went through some shit last year and ended up in the hospital and got out of there. And that was just kind of the last straw for me, So yeah, I don't know. It sucks to say, and it's not very encouraging, but sometimes you just got to get worse and worse until it has to be your decision, like when I went to rehab, I was kind of half in, half out. Like maybe I can just reset my mind and go back to drinking at some point. And, if you're kind of half-assing it, there's a lot of ways it can go, you can end up relapsing, so it has to be kind of just a thing in your head where you're like, it's time, I have to do this, at least in my experience, everyone's different, but.
Well, and you put out your first single on Spotify in 2020. So that would have been well before you started this sobriety journey, but it was right in the midst of COVID. Yeah. How much did the pandemic itself kind of play into that push for you to pursue and release music?
Honestly, it's kind of not. I mean, the silver lining with the pandemic, I guess, was that because I live right on the border of Washington and Idaho. I live in Spokane, and so everything was shut down. Most of the musicians seem to be from over here as opposed to, I mean, there's a lot in Idaho too, but I don't know, there was just way less musicians wanting to play music. And that was like right when I was starting to get into it. And then the Mad Bomber, I don't know if you know where they're at, or they're gone now. They just closed, but they were having music all through 2020, like the whole COVID thing. And we'd go down there like every week to the open mic and play shows. And then there was a community of people there too that I met, that I came pretty close with, like other musicians and stuff. And so that kind of got my foot in the door and kind of gave me a jump start on the whole thing, I think, and then once the pandemic was over, I'd already been doing it for long enough that, whereas everyone else was picking up from where they left off, I'd caught up kind of to where they left off.
Well, and this area, the inland Northwest, I think a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, it's rural. They've got to have, everybody out there has got to be playing country music or, heavy metal, which sounds like you've kind of done a little bit of both. But when you look at the kind of the musicianscape from Spokane, you've got guys like Miles Kennedy from Spokane, or Jeremy McComb from Post Falls, just across the border. And Jeremy McComb specifically was on the show. He described his music as sort of genre agnostic. And the more I listen to your music and your story, the more I think that description sort of fits you. Your music doesn't really fit into any particular genre. But before we let everybody listen to the couple songs that we have here, how would you describe your sound to somebody that's never heard you before?
I mean, for me, like I really just try to write songs in the way that I know how, and a lot of times it's whatever complements lyrics best, like whatever type of playing, I guess. But it's usually like I grew up, this is something I guess I forgot to mention earlier. I grew up playing fiddle. I went to a bunch of fiddle contests and festivals and stuff around, really around the country. And I guess my dad got me and my sisters into that when we were young. And so I grew up around a lot of that. And then I think just having the, like the country and swing and bluegrass, background just from my dad's side of the family really influences me, I guess. But, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd say something like it definitely has those elements in it, but I wouldn't call it that. I usually just say folk when people ask what type of music I play, because it's just kind of a pain in the ass to pinpoint it,
Oh, definitely.
A lot of string instruments.
Well, let's give everybody a chance to kind of get to hear what that sound is. We have a couple of songs for everybody. They're both off of your debut album, which is Hard to Kill a Ghost.
Yeah.
The first one that we have here, it's called Gone. Give us the story behind how this song came about. What was the writing and recording process like for this one?
Yeah, this one was actually, this is probably the most proud I've ever been of us. Like, this is my favorite song I think I've ever written. Not because it sounds super great. It's hard for me to listen to my own music sometimes just because I nitpick the hell out of myself. But just the writing on it, I guess. I wrote this song actually last year when I got out of the hospital, and I got sober the next day, and I wrote this. And so it's kind of just about that, just kind of the place I was in and my decision to try to get sober and move past it and better myself. Yeah, we recorded the whole thing because I wrote it. We were almost done. We were pretty much done with the album. And I sent it to Ben, who plays bass with my band, but he was producing the album. And I just sent him a video of me playing it. He's like, we got to do that. So we jumped in the studio real quick and cut it and threw it on there last minute. So.
Well, let's let everybody take a listen to it. This one is called Gone by today's guest, Jake Rozier.
I came to this afternoon with an IV in my arm. Doctor says that your liver's fine, you better count your lucky stars. But it's hard to see the sky beneath the hole that I'm falling through. But if there's one thing that I still can count, it's everything I need to. But they're gone. Oh, they're gone. am I? And I can't excuse the things that I tried to defend. Well, she said she's leaving me, but I was gone long before then. I hid my wrongs in the hair of the dog that I can't seem to tame. And I swore I was better this time, but it's always gonna be the same. She's gone. Oh, she's gone. But hell, I tried. And I swear I mean to do the things that I know are right, but I can't shake the only ones that make me feel alive. And I've been holding on to something that I can't control, and I've been running from the voice that's begging me to know that if they're gone, and if she's gone, I gotta be alright.
And that one was called Gone by today's guest, Jake Rozier. And Jake, we mentioned a little bit that song is off of your debut album, Hard to Kill a Ghost. You put that out in August of last year. The first question, give us the story behind that name.
Well, it's the title track to one of the songs on there. And it's really just about a lot of the songs on the album are kind of about addiction, and not intentionally, just something I've been dealing with for a long time, and so just you write about what you know. But yeah, that's what that's about. And it's like I said, is the title track of one of the songs on there, or it's the title track of that, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Yeah. I
Get
do.
my words kind of, sorry.
No.
There's a song on the album called Hard to Kill a Ghost, so we called the album that. Yeah,
that makes sense to me. And I guess in today's landscape, it seems like more artists are releasing single after single after single, and then you just jumped right in with a full album last year. What was the thought process there in releasing a full album versus doing singles like some of the other artists?
Yeah, that's something I think about a lot. Well, and we did a few singles, like you said. We did that first one, which was just a video. There was actually a buddy of mine, Sam McHugh, used to do these video sessions, and I did one with him, and I just took the audio and uploaded it to Spotify. But that was the first one that you mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. But I released a couple other ones as well before the album. And I know that in today's day and age, singles are kind of the way to go because people have short attention spans, and it's good to keep pushing stuff out consistently. But I just really love the idea of an album. I really love having a group of songs that all kind of go together, and it's bigger than just one song. They all have a purpose in this bigger picture. It's like a story, and it's like having releasing singles. The way I look at it, it's kind of like just releasing chapters of a book one at a time, versus reading the whole book at once. It's a way more satisfying experience, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's the right move to put albums out all the time, but I think that's a line that I'm willing to stay on that side of, if that makes sense, just because it's just a cool thing to me, and it's nostalgic, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And like, I remember growing up, you'd get all excited for an album that was coming out. You know, you've heard a single or two off of that album, but now it seems like a lot of artists are releasing 6, 7, 8 songs off of their 10 or 12 song album. By the time you get it, you've already heard all of it. So as a fan, I appreciate the full album release piece. And really it's for the reasons that you mentioned, that it kind of walks you through a story rather than kind of these standalone chapters, if you will. How much time did you spend building that track list, or, you know, picking the songs and then arranging the order?
I mean, it kind of came together pretty easily. We had a list of probably 20 songs, and then we kind of just started. I don't know if we thought that much into it when we started the whole thing. You know, this is the first time we did this, and so we were just kind of going into it blindly, you know, and we're just like, let's just record our favorite songs and then just kind of keep going from there, you know. And then it kind of just came together. And then there's a few ones that we recorded that we scrapped off the album because they didn't really fit. But for the most part, it was pretty organic. And then once it was done, it was pretty easy to piece together, because you just kind of, for me, I just kind of looked at it, because pretty much all the songs on there are real things about me for the most part. And so I just kind of ordered, it's like, how do you want to tell this story, you know? There's 2 songs on there that are like murder ballad songs. So I put those first and last, and those ones go together. The second one's a sequel to the first one, so that worked perfectly. And then everything in between was just kind of looked at the story of my life so far and trying to piece it together in order, you know what I mean? So it wasn't too difficult.
Well, and looking at the album, just looking at the track list, you can kind of see that there was some thought put into the storylines, just because of what you mentioned. You have a song that kicks it off called Gravedigger 1. You have a song at the end called Gravedigger 2. And we actually have that Gravedigger 2 here for everybody to take a listen to. Walk us through kind of that Gravedigger story and how these songs came about.
Yeah, I was watching Trailer Park Boys. I don't know if you watch that show ever.
Always a great inspiration.
But, what?
Always a great inspiration.
Yeah, seriously. There's a character in that named Ricky, and he's just kind of a dumbass. And I don't remember what episode or scene of the episode I was watching, but something to do with like he shot himself or something or someone. And I don't know. I just kind of started writing, and that, like, it wasn't intentional, you know. I just kind of, you get an idea and you kind of it just kind of happens, I guess. But that's kind of what that came from, was just watching Trailer Park Boys. But the song's about a character. It's about a dude named Ricky who is drunk at a bar and is like showing off. He found a gun outside laying on the ground, and he goes in the bar and accidentally shoots it and ends up killing this guy's girlfriend or wife or something. And then his girlfriend, and then the guy goes after him and gets him. That's Gravedigger 1. Not to spoil it, but you said you're going to play Gravedigger 2 anyway, so I guess I had to recap.
That's true. Yeah, you got to give everybody the heads up there.
Yeah, so that's where that came from, though, is just watching Trailer Park Boys, and yeah, I don't know. Well, I think it was the first time I've ever written something too, like completely fictional, you know. That was 100% just made up, you know. So it's a cool experience, I guess.
There, let's give everybody the second half of this story. It's Gravedigger 2.
Been out here on my own for 8 long days. I set out bound for Mexico, but I still got a ways. And I've been keeping off the road, but I don't know how much more running I can take. And I'm tempted just to hitch myself a ride, but it would only take one passerby to recognize me as the man that killed the man that killed the girl I planned on making my wife. And I swear if there's one thing that I've seen spread as fast as fire, it's the rumor days, I opened up my eyes and found that the police got up behind me. So I start running for my life. Now there's a ringing in my ear, and my head it starts to pound. I feel that bullet hit my chest. I gasp for breath and hit the ground. Turn myself upright, look to the sky, and I can see her in the clouds. But I ain't giving in. They say if I cooperate, well, I might still get away. But I'll keep looking up to my darling up above as I just wait for her to take me home again. And I ain't giving in. I'll die right where I am, don't see much reason left to live. So I'll lie here in the mud and let my eyes fill up with blood as I just wait for her to take me home again.
And that one was called Gravedigger 2 from Jake Rozier. And Jake, when you sit down to write a song, we talked about it a little bit. It sounds like you sort of start with lyrics. Is that right? You start with the lyrics, or is there a melody or a title or guitar lick? What's that process like for you when you sit down to write?
It's always different. Most of the time, I'd say I'd probably have my guitar in my hand and I start strumming some chords, and then I get an idea of what the melody is and like the lyrics. Like I usually just start singing gibberish to some chords. Like I find a melody that's really cool, and then I just start singing nonsense to it until a line kind of comes up that I could work with, and then you just kind of work backwards from there. But it's different every time. I've written. There's one song I can think of that I wrote the whole thing on my phone and then had to go figure out the chords to later. And then sometimes I'll write stuff in my car while I'm driving. So yeah, it's always different, but the most of the time I usually have my guitar with me.
Well, and around here, we've got the Inland Northwest Country Music Association that does a good job of putting local artists and songwriters together to write. Are you more of a guy that writes individually, or do you like to find some of those co-writes?
Yeah, I think if I tried, like I've talked about it with my friends, just like, let's just hang out and just try to write a song together and see how bad it sucks kind of. But I feel like I'm too big of a control freak over my own art. I don't think it would work very well, but I have no problem with other people doing it. It's just not really my thing, Well,
it definitely is. I think it's a person by person basis on that. I mean, there's lots of folks like you that, when you put out a song, you want to make sure that it's the story that you're telling from your perspective. And that makes a lot of sense for sure.
Well, and I think everyone has different ways of explaining things too. Like I have friends who like are great songwriters. And they'll write lines or lyrics or whatever. And in my head, I'm like, man, that might not have been the best way to say that, but it's not because it's objectively not the best way to say it. It's just the way I think. And in my head, the way like I'm very particular with the words I use, I guess, or I try to be. And I think that's not unique to me. I think everyone's kind of that way. Or everyone should be at least, So it's not even a matter of, that person not having as good of an idea is just like for me, it's like, that's not something I would say. That's not how I'd phrase it. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah. You've got your own voice, the way that you talk, the way that you think through things. And
right.
Sometimes other people's words just don't make sense. And I totally get that.
Yeah.
100%. So Jake, for people that are here around the Inland Northwest, I know you're out playing a lot, especially this month, several times throughout this month. And of course, that's going to keep going on. Where can people keep up with what you have going on? What are your socials? What's your website?
So Instagram is just Jake Rozier, and my last name is ROZ. I mean, I'm sure it's on the podcast, but
yeah, it'll be there.
And then it's like 2 underscores. And then I believe it's the same on Facebook. My website is jakerozier.com. I need to get back on updating that a little more, but I'll get on that soon. And then Spotify, Apple Music, all those streaming things, it's all the same. Just my name, just Jake Rozier.
Perfect. And I think you may be the first person in 105 episodes pick up on the fact that your name is spelled right in the podcast that they're listening to. So,
Yeah.
so good job there.
Well,
Jake,
thanks,
man, it's this has been a blast. I definitely want to do this again in the future, but we end every podcast the same way. It's called the Final Four, just kind of the same way we started it. You up for it?
Yeah, for sure.
It's time for the Final Four.
Okay, first question. What's your favorite place to take somebody when they visit you?
Damn, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm pretty lame, honestly. Like all I really ever do anymore is play music, and I go skate when I can. But if, my friends don't skate, like I'm not going to take them out to the skate park, So, God, dude, this is going to be really lame, but I don't know if I have an answer for that one.
That's okay. They're tough questions.
Yeah. I mean, I could sit here and try to think of one, but I'd probably be sitting here for a while.
It's all good.
But yeah, really good question. You got me, man.
Okay, how about this one? And you can cheat on your phone if you need to, but who are the 3 most recently played artists on your Spotify or Apple playlist?
I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of Sturgill lately. And then John Prine's always up there. And then who would be number 3? I've been on a George Jones kick lately and a Wu-Tang kick. So either Wu-Tang or George Jones, but maybe Wu-Tang just because the other 2 are country,
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, I guess I'd say those.
Oh, no, that's the new Sturgill album is phenomenal. You're the second person to bring up Sturgill in like 3 episodes.
Oh, right on, cool.
Yeah, but that new album that you put out,
Dude and Juanita album, or the Cut Grass ones?
The Dude and Juanita album.
Okay, yeah, that one's killer, man.
One.
That would remind me a lot of Redheaded Stranger. Just the whole. I mean, talk about like telling a story from beginning to end.
Right,
just all
top to bottom.
Together.
Okay, here's another one that's going to make you think. When you're out and about, either in town or out on the road, what's the one place that you have to stop every time you pass it?
So I got a bunch of dietary restrictions. I'm basically vegan. I'm like, my stomach is all screwed up. I can't really eat meat, or I can't eat meat, and then I'm lactose intolerant on top of that. So I don't have a ton of options, and so especially like if I'm in like a small town somewhere, I usually stop at Subway just because it's not my favorite food in the world, but it's pretty reliable and they're all over the place, So I usually stock up, on a couple Subway sandwiches while I'm on the road.
That's a good plan. And I was just reading an article the other day that Subway overtook McDonald's as like the most popular or most locations in the country. So should be easy for you to find. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good for me because I don't think McDonald's I think they have apple slices. That's the only thing I can eat on their menu.
Oh no.
Apple slices and soda. So plus I'm sure Subway's, I know a lot of people really don't like Subway because it's like really, people are worried the food's not fresh or whatever, but I'm sure it's better than McDonald's,
Oh, it's gotta be. I mean, it may still not be great, but it's definitely got to be better than like McDonald's or Burger King or Jack in the Box.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Okay, here we go, Jake. Last question of the whole podcast, and take as much or as little time to answer this as you want. But if you could pick one thing for people to take away from your appearance on the show or from your music in general, what would it be?
I'd say honestly, just this is gonna sound. I'm trying to figure out a way to say this where it doesn't sound super cliche, but it probably will. But it's true. But just don't be too hard on yourself. And I'm very hard on myself, so I'm not the best example of that. But I mean, life is tough, and there's a lot of bad things about life, or not bad things about life, but you know what I mean? Like life is tough and there's a lot of shit that goes wrong, and people tend to get really weird about that sometimes, like just being honest with themselves and with other people about what they're going through. And I think at the end of the day, human connection is like the most important asset we have, and not utilizing that, not taking advantage of it is really detrimental to us, And so if you're going through something like I've been through, like addiction or depression or whatever, mental health stuff, there's no shame in that. There might be shame in some of the things you've done because of that, but you've done those things because you have issues in your head you need to work out, and hiding from those and pretending you don't have those things, it's not going to help you, and I don't know if I'm the best example, I'd love to be, I only have a year sober myself right now. So it's not that I'm trying to set an example, but just be a friend to people in whatever way I can, and it's not about me. Like I love playing music, but I'm not a fan of the whole the attention be on me thing, because it's about the other people, and that's the whole point of music is sharing your own perspective on universal issues that we go through, because like we were saying earlier, everyone thinks about things differently, and you could say something to me that could resonate with something I'm going through in my life that I may not have thought of before, and so I think it's really important to just embrace everything about yourself, the good and the bad, and then just try to use that to get better, so that's kind of a ramble, but that's kind of the gist of it, I guess.
Man, that is a fantastic way to wrap it up. And don't sell yourself short. A year sober is it's a massive accomplishment.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I know I'm not saying it's nothing. But yeah, I just mean like I got a lot of shit going on in my own life still, and I'm still really early in the whole sobriety thing. So if I'm not the best example of how to, get through those things, it's not about that. It's about just being able to talk about it, and so I hope I can at least set an example in that way, and just being honest.
For sure. And Jake, thanks again for jumping on here. It's been an absolute blast, and we'll have to catch you around town for sure.
Yeah, man. Thank you a ton for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And guys, that was another episode of the Tea Party Podcast. It's a podcast where you find new friends and new music like Jake Rozier and Hard to Kill a Ghost.
Go tee off on the like button at facebook.com/Tea Party Podcast. This has been a Tea Party Communications production. Theme music created by Jesse Quandt. Announcer voiceovers by Jay Gwinn. And as always, hosted by Pisani.